Hi, I'm Kevin Moriarty. Next Tuesday, June 10th, Trenton will hold its runoff election to elect a new mayor to succeed Tony Mack for a full term of office. From an original field of 6 candidates, there are now only 2 who will be facing off against each other next week. Eric Jackson will be running against Paul Perez. I extended an invitation to both candidates to sit down and talk about the state of their campaign and many of the issues facing Trenton in the current election. Through a campaign spokesperson, Eric Jackson declined the invitation. Paul Perez accepted and is here tonight. Good evening. Thanks for coming.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here.
Bet. Mr. Perez surprised many people in the city with his strong second-place finish in the May election. This is usually when the candidate says he wasn't surprised.
Oh, I wasn't surprised at all.
Born and raised in Trenton, Mr. Perez left the city at a young age to pursue a career in federal service. First with the United States Army, and then with several government agencies such as the National Institutes of Health, National Science Foundation, and the Export-Import Bank. He retired, entered the private sector, and moved back to Trenton in 2012. Today, he is one of only 2 remaining contenders to become Trenton's next mayor. So, it wasn't a surprise to you that you finished second?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Our campaign was strictly based on going out and knocking on the doors and talking to the people. As we did that, our strategy was engage the people, talk about the platform, ask them about their needs, and then once we got them on our team, quickly take account of how many voters lived in the residence, stick a sign in the window, and move on. Okay. So we had real strategy, real numbers. So we expected to.
In a real nutshell, what's your message? My
message is change. It's change and responsible government, something that's been missing here for so many years now. All of the symptoms that we see of this decaying Trenton is directly connected to a missing government, a government that's been missing in action.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the state of New Jersey. You met a few weeks ago with Acting Mayor George Mushal for a briefing on the status of Memorandum of Understanding covering the grant this year of $22.86 million in transitional aid to help the city balance its budget. The conditions and terms sought by the state have gotten harder and tighter and stricter over the last 4 years, to the point now where it appears that the state will need or will want to approve all city hirings and firings, including those directors and department heads who normally would be appointed by a new mayor at the beginning of his term. What's your take on the Memo of Understanding? What do you see as the optimal relationship between the state and the city of Trenton?
Well, quite frankly, the memo serves no purpose to the citizenry of Trenton. It's draconian in its terms. We have no real possibility of governing without their interference. And that takes away from our ability to change the city that we want to see. Right now, when I sat with George, I told George, I said, George, we gotta find a way where we can go back and review our financial status in the city and see if we can't negotiate a lower number and get back our responsibilities of managing our people. The only way that you can change a culture is if you can somehow have a relationship with the culture that's currently found there, and it can be a respectable one. Because of the terms under this MOU, the directors don't even have to inform you of much because they report directly to the state. There's no fear of repercussion or responsibility to the mayor because they work for the state. You're not the mayor's choice, so you don't really know the standards, expectations, or values of the new mayor coming in. It's a tough situation going in. The other thing is that continuing to stay on this MOU requires us to continue to raise the taxes on the citizens of the city. We need to find a way to get away from that. There was Comptra before, which was another municipal pact or act that allowed us to receive money from the state for the occupancy of our land and property. We went away from that. We went into the transitional aid, which now gave us these draconian measures.
So what leverage does Trenton have, and specifically what leverage does Trenton's mayor have in trying to improve the terms for the city?
Well, here's the measures that you have, and it's going to be some innovative work, right? Because the only thing that I can see doing right now is going in and reviewing our current financial situation and finding ways to reduce the amount of transitional aid that we need, and then providing the state with options in the negotiation process. What we would say then is, do we get private sector involved and ask them to fill in some of the gap of the money that's coming to us from the state? Do we look and become innovative in the way that we prioritize our money and find some way to fill that gap? And then slowly or very quickly begin to reduce the amount of money that we're asking the state for, but at the same time demanding that we change the terms. The terms came about because of unreasonable and unfortunate situations in the city, but we should not continue to be punished for the past. And that's what I would be looking for. How do we work with the private sector? How do we become more creative in our budgeting? And then how do we begin to find a negotiated best interest between us and the state?
Let's continue on that subject of the role of the state in Trenton's development. The city desperately needs development of all kinds, commercial development, residential development, private investment to boost the city's tax ratables. Yet last year, the New Jersey legislature passed and the governor signed the Economic Act of 2013. A main feature of that act is a program that allows a 20-year period of full tax exemption and then for 10 years, and then phased implementation of full taxes, 10% a year for another 10 years. According to the legislature's own fiscal analysis, this program will result in, I quote, significantly reduced property tax revenues for Trenton and the other 3 towns participating. We do need new development in Trenton to beef up the tax base, but how does the city catch a break? How do property owners who have been facing drastic tax increases year after year from the city's property taxes, how do we catch a break?
Well, we catch a break by, again, being innovative in our approach and how we lure in some sort of anchor businesses that might want to begin to build up, where we can bring in businesses who don't necessarily be looking for that program. Unfortunately, that's the only way, because we have our hands tied on that. And trust me that there are. There are plenty of businesses who want to come to Trenton who don't necessarily need to go under that program.
You've identified in your platform, your campaign platform, that the federal EB-5 visa
Absolutely.
program is something we should be looking at. That's a program that allows foreign citizens and their families to get permanent resident visas in the United States if they make an investment of, I think it depends, $500,000 or $1 million, and commit to create 10 full-time jobs. Why do you think Trenton is a good candidate for that kind of a program?
Well, first, it's $500,000. You must create 10 American jobs for each $500,000. In return, you get the expedited visas. Trenton is primed for it because Trenton has about 117 brownfields that we can develop very quickly. Trenton also has a small but working and functioning exporting and importing sector in the Latino community right now. If we could just tap into that and expand it or enhance it by bringing in those who are currently working it and making it more professional in size and scope, we could be very creative in doing that. You
talk about the several brownfield sites in the city. Over the last several years, there have been experiences where there have been sites developed, the Magic Marker site being the most recent one. You said that brownfield sites can be redeveloped pretty quickly. Magic Marker site and a lot of other sites that would require extensive remediation, those are big tasks. Do you think that is a burden that can be properly shifted onto the EB-5 investor or any other private investor?
I think what we can do is we can go as cautiously as possible because not all sites are contaminated to the same level. But we have to be smart in the approach, of course. I said 117 brownfields, because they have the potential to be looked upon for a development. But there are other alternatives too that we can look at. There are plenty of open space that we can work on, but we still have that industrial corridor down the Route 1 area that we can look at. We just need to make sure that whatever plan we use, we are very thorough in the plan. We work with the current research that's been done on the levels, the possibilities of levels of contamination, and then understanding that, we make our decision as to where we're going to be placing these things.
Who do you see as Trenton's competition for investment, both locally and regionally?
Well, Trenton shouldn't have competition, first of all, because we're so strategically placed, right?
If you're going to market yourself, you have to know who you're up against.
Of course, our market, our competition continues to be Hoboken, Jersey City, Perth Amboy, all of these up-and-coming cities that are close to the northeast corridor, but further away enough that people want to commute from. Anywhere where there's light rail or there's some sort of train or byway, highway connected to it, we're going to compete against New Brunswick, and even as far down as Camden. You know, and Camden now it's making this change. They're very close to Philadelphia. Maybe people want to relocate or expand a little bit, they could go there. We need to get ourselves together, or else we're going to be left out in this process. I am not concerned that they're going to take away all the business, because there's plenty of business going on around us. The metropolis that it's called the megalopolis that we're around, is so big. The universe is so big that we can, just if we get our act together, we're going to be able to pull enough into Trenton.
Okay. Who do you see as Trenton's partners in this kind of development? If there are problems with the state, tell me about the county, other federal groups or agencies, right, or private foundations or companies.
Well, I think the latter. The latter is going to probably be more important to us right now. We need to be able to work with the county, state, and federal levels. We really are. We're going to have that reach back capability and understand how we can work with one another in a way that functions. And then also, depending upon whose vision is on the top, how does that cascade down to us? So we're going to have that. But the private sector is the sector where we really need to get going on, you know, because there's so much opportunity out there. You know, there's energy opportunities. The gas and oil industry is moving up the corridor away from the golf course. They've just created a $400 million operation in Pennsylvania. They run a gas line from Pennsylvania through Princeton into the East Coast. Trenton is losing out in this. We have other pharmaceuticals that are relocating from the Caribbean, because we had about 18% of our industry, the world's industry, was in the Caribbean at one time. So they're moving out of the Caribbean, finding other homes. Trenton should be in that race. And then it lures a different kind of clientele to us, and also it enhances our ability to keep professional people here, which is what we need. So private sector being energy, media, digital, and small manufacturing that's currently going on. That's what we should be concentrating on. That's going to be best for the city.